Disclaimer.
History is not safe for work, and neither is HistoricHole.
This podcast is uncensored and contains explicit language.
Welcome to Historic Hole. My name is David, and as always, I am joined by Jason and Michael.
Howdy.
Howdy! And we here at HistoricHole, we take a funny look at history, sometimes people, sometimes things. Some call us the Three Stooges of history. And today, what are we doing?
I have not heard that one before, but today we're talking about Andrew Jackson,
Ooh, not a stooge.
President of the United States of America.
One of
Ajax,
them.
for short.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Like the soap. We call him President Soap.
I was going more towards the Iliad Ajax.
No. We're done
The
with
great.
that. We're done with that.
No more Greek literature for
Nope.
Michael.
Or anyone. We're done.
You're cut off.
So Mr. Jackson was born March 15th, 1767, somewhere in the
According to history.
backwoods of the Carolinas, in between North and South.
There's like a light shining. Someone's like dragging him out. It's like doing an experiment. Like, oh my God, here we go. He's born.
Born to a mountain people.
And make sure you write it down.
His
Backwoods people.
his parents were Scots-Irish. So, yes, I assume most Americans thought those people were backwards people.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His father was Andrew Jackson.
Are you sure?
Yes. His mother was Elizabeth Hutchinson. Both
The hardest name to say in history.
yeah, Hutchinson.
Elizabeth Hutchinson.
Presbyterians that immigrated from
Presbyterian.
Ireland 2 years prior. Now, Andrew Jackson Sr. was busy building himself a nice homestead for his family when he had a terrible logging accident
There's one. It happens.
and died at 29, 2 weeks prior to little Andrew Jackson being born.
So we're older than Andrew Jackson Sr. I almost said Jr.
Yeah. And so he had two older brothers, Robert and Hugh.
We survived the logs. Our brother wasn't good enough.
No, Andrew hadn't been born yet.
Just kidding.
Elizabeth was still pregnant with him, running around wailing about how her father or husband just got crushed by a bunch of logs.
He was in Final Destination too, but you know.
Anywho, after the funeral, they bounced around living with different family members, seeing as Elizabeth couldn't, build her own home because she wasn't very good with working with logs.
Oh, I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why. Let's not say it, but I wonder why.
So,
She's pregnant and a woman.
yeah. So they're
Why?
In like 1800s America or 1700s America.
Come on. Would you do
Colonial
it
America,
if you were a
right?
pregnant woman in Columbia, America?
Columbia, America.
Colonial Columbia, the district. Would you build a house? I wouldn't.
So his education came from a bunch of local priests that ran around town teaching everyone things, as priests were wont to do in that time period.
The council.
And then we flash forward to 1779. We have the American Revolution has kicked off 3 years prior.
I was about to say, it's like, here we are. It's kicked off a few years ago.
But Andrew Jackson,
God. We got traction. We got solution fish.
yeah, I'm not doing well with this Z's.
How about Lizzie and Jack?
Ajax.
Maybe,
No,
Ajax.
we need to use Ajax.
It's a nickname for a
You need
reason.
to.
So Ajax, he's 12 years old. His older brother, Hugh, was
No.
It was Hugh. Had already been in the military,
Who are you?
fighting along the troops against the British.
yeah?
But died
That's
of
what you do in the military.
heat exhaustion.
This doesn't always happen, but sometimes happens
Yeah.
in the military.
Yeah, sometimes
It's
happens.
so hot that I died.
Getting hot in here.
So take go.
No.
Okay. So
What did Hugh do?
Hugh died. But Robert and little Ajax, they were too young, obviously, to fight in battles, but they started their career in the military as couriers.
Hold on. I saw The Patriot, and Mel Gibson made his sons aim small, miss small. I think they could have been there shooting some people up, and they just keep those out of the history books.
Well, it could have happened.
Make sure you reload for your brother Bobby. Ajax.
Well, Ajax was out delivering letters. But at some point,
Not nearly as cool.
him and Robert get captured by British forces. And they were treated well up until
Would you like some tea?
Ajax decided not to clean one of the English general's boots. He's like, "Yeah, fuck you, I'm not doing that."
Cleaned all the other booze, but just the one.
At which point he like slashed him with a sword. It scarred his face and his left hand. And then Jackson just sort of attacked him. So they threw him in the brig. Him and Robert were imprisoned for a couple months. They contracted smallpox.
I mean, that's not funny.
Not especially especially as a child. Smallpox. Yeah.
It seemed like it worked out.
But old Mama Elizabeth, got them out and started walking back to their hometown, which is about 40 miles out.
It took them 20 years.
Well, it probably took them a while, but they were about 2 miles out from town when it just started raining quite heavily. Downpour affected.
You ever heard of rain?
Yeah, affected the boys' conditions with the smallpox, making it worse. So Robert dies. Ajax is debilitated for a while, but eventually, gets over it. He's a sickly kid, for the rest of his life, though. He sort of has a bunch of ailments.
Even when he becomes a man, he's a sickly kid.
Yeah, always
For
been
his whole entire life.
always been a sickly kid.
Sickly kid at heart. Yeah, the heart of a dying child. Hilarious.
The liver of an alcoholic adult.
Hilarious thought.
So his mom was tending to little Ajax and helping him in his recovery. She's like, "Well, I want to help the rest of the POWs out there." Except for the first.
Oh, and she did.
Except for the first camp she went to, there was a cholera outbreak, and which
Love in the time of cholera.
actually good movie.
I didn't say, was it?
Edward Norton, I do believe. But
It's probably not.
she contracts cholera and dies. So by the age of 14, Ajax is an orphan.
And see, folks, let that be a lesson to you. Don't go help people.
Or you'll
selfish.
get cholera.
You get cholera and die.
Yeah.
These are the risks you run.
Yeah.
The selfless, man, are in a minefield.
It's true. But
Never have hope.
Yeah. Optimism.
it'll crush your spirit.
Neither of the H's in HistoricHole stand for hope. Let me tell you.
I'll tell you that right now.
Hysteria, horror,
You can't
many things, but not hope.
You can't spell hopeless without hope.
So that's the only instance that we use the word hope. And even then, we don't like it.
But Ajax decided to take all his anger out on the British. He felt that they were personally responsible for his brother's death and his mother's death.
Hey, you.
So he hated.
Wait, what?
No, he hated them.
Oh,
He did not like the British. The British were like, fuck you for us killing your mom.
Yeah, he didn't. He had a strong dislike for the British because he thought that they were personally responsible for his brothers and his mom dying.
I guess, cholera, it's just like,
When there's love in the time of it, you don't know what to do.
you don't know who to blame.
Like your brain doesn't work.
So you pick
got
the
fever.
obvious enemy here is, dude, yeah, like, come on. The British were the scapegoat of the time. Everyone's
Seriously, they were like the
blaming
New
their
England
problems.
Patriots of like colonialism.
Everyone's just
Like
blames
world
their
history.
problems on even things that aren't even related to the British. It's just like, my crops are dying. Oh, it's probably that damn British, know, and everyone's just blaming it on the British.
My boat sunk. Goddamn king.
Right? It just makes shitty boats, but they
He's built by hand.
The British came into my shop in the middle of the night, sabotaged it. I don't know why he's British. Because he's from the culture.
Everyone's British back then.
Yeah, everyone.
We all came from Britain, and we don't want to be there anymore.
Yes, that is true. So,
Like that day you talk like this, you got one day, right? Or you wrote the Declaration of Independence. It was only one of those three in colonial America.
his family really didn't like him all that much because he was kind of a little shit.
The David of his family.
So
Fair.
Fair.
he ended up going.
Yeah, you talk to him, they'll probably give you that assessment.
His family didn't
But
really.
didn't kill them all. I mean,
If you can find anything. Good luck.
His family didn't really take him in all that much because they didn't really like him all that well. So he ended up just bouncing around.
Couch surfing.
Yeah, with some friends up until
stealing some ramen.
Bro, do you have some hay I can crash on? Like, how was it like back then?
Hey, you got a roof I can sit under the rain under.
Some straw, some extra straw in the corner. Maybe I could like collapse on after I'm drunk.
You got a horse and
You
will
got
kick
some-
me in the face.
Yeah, you got some room in the barn, type deal.
Oh yeah, barns. Holy crap.
Do you have
dude,
a corner
was-
that's not full of shit?
That was probably like prime real estate back then.
Hell
It was
yeah.
like, oh, there's a barn. Oh, we're sleeping good tonight, boys.
Hell
What do you
yeah.
think everyone got consummated? The barn. Everyone else lived in the house.
And
Lots of privacy.
I
when you
mean,
go to the barn.
if we're consummating a marriage, I mean, I think a certain class is probably taking the barn, but
You
a lot-
probably put a sheet over the hay.
I think in.
Shoo the horses out. Except for the one that was your favorite.
I feel like the barn was more reserved for the juvenile.
yeah, the young trysts
The barn was like the behind the gym, the like back in your
We use
mom's church
underneath
van.
underneath the bleachers. So Ajax starts trying to find a job. He starts doing random odd jobs around town. He was a saddle maker for a little while. Then he switched over to teaching children.
Lateral move.
A pivot, yeah.
But found that neither profession really suited him.
I mean, is this really the spectrum? Saddle maker and
Or
teaching
teacher.
children.
Not just teacher.
He moved to Salisbury, North Carolina, where he
they made
studied
steak.
law.
He becomes a politician.
Yeah, went from saddle maker to politician. So he moved in 1784, and it took him 3 years to be accepted to the bar in North Carolina. Several other lawyers helped him along the lines, but
Yeah, probably had to learn shit
yeah.
after just like teaching and making saddles.
So was this difficult? The North Carolina bar, is this the
Well, I'm sure.
the bar of bars? Or
Yeah.
In colonial times.
I'm assuming any lawyer work is going to be difficult because it took him several
I assume
teachers.
that lawyering is difficult
Yeah.
work.
and
Got remembering stuff.
one of the lawyers he worked with, it didn't go so well, and he had his first duel in 1788, but it wasn't. It was a sort of anticlimactic because they had secretly agreed that they would fire off in the air. But there are several other duels that we'll talk about where shit gets crazy.
Oh, well,
Anywho.
thanks for telling us about the one where nothing happened.
Well, it was his first duel.
I mean, it's the
special.
first time you have sex.
Yeah,
you know?
it's
like
special.
nothing to write home about. Your first duel, no one died.
you fire
no one
off
was
in the air.
satisfied.
Yeah,
I mean,
you just firing blanks.
Well, they
Something's wrong.
weren't firing
Well,
blanks.
Jason
they were
was.
just firing in the
Something's
air.
wrong.
yeah, Jason,
Go see a health professional. So
Jason doesn't know, actually. He doesn't know what to do when it comes to having.
It's in the belly button, right? So in 1788, shortly after the duel, he moves to Nashville, Tennessee.
Where it's happening, Music City.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what
Yeah,
it's called?
man.
I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, it's Nashville's music. That's Music Town.
It's like country music.
yeah.
town.
Exactly.
It's not country. I mean, it's music. Elvis, was he Elvis country?
He was diabetic. I do know that.
I'll tell you what he was. He was a thief. He stole the black man's music. Is what it is.
I'll tell you what. He also died.
On the toilet.
Yeah.
I like how you
Diabetic.
leave that. He died. It's like everyone dies. I mean, you gotta include the
Down the
interesting
toilet at 42.
Could you believe Elvis died? It's like, yeah. That's
So
Did he
does-
really?
but so does
Next
everyone.
episode of Historical.
Elvis Presley, the life of Elvis.
The life and afterlife.
Dude,
Michael can do that one.
Quaaludes, that dude. But dude, this guy was on. Elvis was on an ungodly amount of.
Yeah, haven't you seen that
Quaaludes.
scene for like Wolf of Wall Street when he crawls out of the car and he doesn't drive it? He thinks he does. That was Elvis's life after age like 12.
While in Nashville, he meets the love of his life,
Elvis.
Rachel Donaldson. The only problem at the time when he met her, she was already married to a jealous man who beat her on several occasions, and they tried to get a divorce. When he heard that the divorce passed, 1790, he ringed it up.
Swooped in.
Yeah.
I bet you that guy wasn't actually that bad. But, you know, when you become eventually president, you probably could be like, I met this lady who was married. Her husband beat her, abusive and all sorts of shit.
Or maybe he actually beat her, and Andrew Jackson actually, you know, it's kind of like with historical figures, there's a gray area, and there's some good things about him. Like, he got her out of a bad situation, kind of. Although it seems like she got herself out of it more like, he just married this smart woman.
Well, she had told him that the divorce
Maybe he
went
was
through.
already married to her, and they were like, oh, it doesn't count.
The divorce had already gone, or she told him that the divorce had gone through, but it actually hadn't fully gone through the legal system.
The crow hadn't delivered the mail.
So for 4 years, there was a little bigamy going on because she was married to multiple people at the same time.
Whore.
But in 1794,
I've got a garden tool for that lady. It's
The
called a hoe.
in 1794 the divorce was finalized, and then they
It was final.
and then they remarried. Yes, and they never had children. They adopted. There was an Andrew Jackson Jr., and that's all I remember. But there were 2 other children.
That's all you remember. Jason actually does all of this from memory, strangely enough.
Yeah, these are just one-line words.
He's betting on sports right now.
Yeah. What do you think
Andrew
I'm doing?
Jackson Jr. was clearly someone from Japan, but we don't go.
Actually, it should be Andrew Jackson III.
Right?
Really?
Technically.
Yeah.
Because
You're a
of-
junior.
But I guess maybe because Senior wasn't alive when Junior was born, it killed it. I guess that's how that works.
That's not how that
The
works. But we'll
junior
go with it.
senior law.
But we're not going to litigate this here on Historical.
No, it's not us.
That's for other
It is not for us to decide. Anywho, so we'll travel back because I just wanted to get the marriage thing out of the way. In 1791, he became the Attorney General in Tennessee, specifically Nashville, I do believe.
The TNAG.
And then he was elected to become a part of the
the next ass generation.
Constitutional Convention for Tennessee in 1796, where Tennessee eventually earned statehood in the same year. And he was
Oh, they earned it.
thrown into the U.S. House of Representatives.
Literally.
Just, all right, Ajax, go.
You go to the roof, you take the ladder, and they throw you in.
He just kicked open the door to the House of Representatives, says, "It's TNAG, baby!" And then just, took his seat. And was
He
sat
shot in the
quietly.
air.
Was respectful.
Quite quiet.
And built his political capital quietly.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't. He
The guy
did.
with the quill pen is just like, we have noted your entrance, sir.
He didn't really.
Chickens running around.
Behold!
He didn't really participate in any of the debates. He actually hated political life.
He tried to, but
Actually just got drunk. He left early. He was never there for any of the votes.
he actually was never there.
Well,
Abdicated his responsibilities entirely.
There
as
was like
a
a
representative.
donkey just like kicking, clomping
He's
with
just
a
like,
hat on.
You know what I really crave is that executive power.
fuck this legislative
It's
bullshit.
like, how can I get here?
I sit here with all these losers and argue when I can just lock people up for talking shit.
Well, he served a year in the U.S. Representatives, and then Tennessee forced him to become their only senator the following year.
It's like there's literally nobody else. Like
They forced him. You have to represent us. No!
he doesn't want to. Exactly. He's just like,
That's why you're perfect for it. You hate us. We suck. No!
No, he loved Tennessee.
well, he loved Tennessee. He just didn't like the job.
Oh yeah, he hated the job.
That's
And actually, he hated the president at the time, John Adams. So he quit after a year.
of course, fucking Federalist, dude.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, these Federalists.
So he returns to Tennessee in 1798,
The return.
where he is appointed to the Supreme Court of Tennessee. And he serves...
One man.
There were other judges also, but they're not important to our story, so fuck them.
We shall gloss.
And he serves up
They
until...
all try to like come on the screen. Hey, wait a minute. No. Push him over. No.
No, it's that cane that pulls him out
Of course.
from behind the curtain. So
And then you hear a bunch of gunshots.
it's Andrew Jackson dueling again.
Yeah. Oh, they're not important. No, we're
No, Andrew.
we have kids. I'm Andrew Jackson, and no one else is important to this story.
He served until 1804, and while on the bench, everyone liked his judgments. Like, he was just like, good job.
But when he was in the chair, no one liked it.
You're very judicious, honest, trustworthy with your judgments. So, great job. Hats off to you. And that's also what pushes him forward politically as well.
Elevation.
They took their hats off.
Well, it was in 1803 he started. He was also in land deals while dealing in politics. He was making his money off land deals.
He was a businessman.
Yeah,
Doing
he was
business.
He was an entrepreneur. So he was setting up towns in Tennessee. He was just not inventing towns. That's the wrong word, but
He's like in a lab. I invented
Eureka.
a town.
I invented a town.
Pulls down like a sheet, and there's like a whole fucking town.
Yeah, he just combines two potions.
There's like a saloon.
the
A
smoke
guy's like
clears.
going out like, "What do you want?"
He was one of the founders of Memphis, actually, Tennessee. So, also while moving around in Tennessee, he found his home that he would live out the rest of his life.
I forgot I made this.
Whenever he
the
wasn't in
lab.
DC, it was called the Hermitage. And we're gonna jump to 1812 real fast here, because at this time, America wants more land. And they're like, well, where are we gonna get it? And the only two options were British Canada and
Fuck that.
Florida.
Yeah, we took a we got a few telescopes. We're like, what's up there? Nah.
We're good.
Yeah, like let's go that way.
In Florida, which was controlled by the Spanish at the time, but
Already full of golf courses.
but they were allied with the British. So just because
Because alliances, man.
Yeah.
Man, yeah,
Well, and at this time, Napoleon's fucking around in
Yeah,
Europe.
exactly. So they're all,
Yeah.
teaming
Oh.
up against him.
Yeah. So Congress decides to declare a war on Britain, June 18th, 1812, just to get more land. And Andrew Jackson, when he hears that the enemy is Britain, he's like, I got 2,500 men ready to go right now. Let's go. And starts heading down south. But U.S. command sends him a note or a letter saying, stop.
a note, no, a letter.
Stop.
A notarized letter.
We actually don't have provisions to feed everyone, so we don't want you joining our camp. But why don't you send us your provisions and you go back home? And Andrew's like,
Fair deal.
man.
He's like, I want blood.
Yeah, I want to kill me some Brits.
I want glory on the field of battle.
He reluctantly gives over his provisions and starts marching back to Nashville. Now, this is where he gets the nickname Old Hickory from, is because...
This is what I've been waiting for.
Yeah, he starts paying for provisions for his men out of his own pocket. He's marching. They're dying from starvation and fatigue.
Which one is it? Are they marching or are they dying?
Both.
One or the other, really.
They're dying. They're marching.
And eventually they get back to Nashville. But then after they get back to Nashville, he has about 2,000 troops left. I can't remember who the president was at the time. Monroe was the president.
Let's just say
And he ordered...
Abraham Lincoln.
Monroe actually orders Jackson down south into Georgia because
He just gets her all tired. We made it.
a faction of the Creek Indian tribe called Red Sticks started just massacring a bunch of United States troops, and they were working
Washington
with
Red Sticks.
and they were working with the British.
Of course they were.
And this is what is called the Creek War, where he just goes down and starts killing Indians.
Call them Native Americans, Jason.
First Peoples, whatever. So over a couple months, there are several battles, including the Battle of Talladega.
We shall build a racetrack here.
To commemorate this.
The whole battle was everyone just chasing each other in a circle, and thus NASCAR was born. We gonna get you? No, you ain't.
Eventually, the Red Sticks sign a treaty.
They signed a contract.
At Fort Jackson, which they agreed to give over 23 million acres of land in Georgia and parts of Alabama over to the federal government. And Andrew Jackson's like, we win. But he still smells British people around, so he starts heading towards Florida.
I smell them.
Crumpets. You smell that?
It was in there just like, everybody, shh. I smell tea.
Even with dysentery, he's like, I want to kill British people. So he and his troops head towards Florida.
Even with dysentery.
He hated them so much.
Crawling out of his bed.
So he gets to, he wins the Battle of Pensacola, and he starts setting up in Florida for a little bit, but then hears about British going
He
around
smells about.
and attacking New Orleans. They plan on attacking New Orleans. So he's like, all right, boys, let's go. We're going to defend that city. And this is where he gets probably why he got elected 20 years later. Was just because of this battle where he held off against British forces, outnumbered. Meanwhile, as this battle is going on in Europe, the Treaty of Ghent is being signed, which ceases hostilities between Britain and the United States. But Andrew Jackson doesn't know, so he keeps shooting.
Well, yeah, no one can give anyone a phone call. It's like, oh, this treaty. It's like, well, we should let those boys over in the colonies know what's going on over here. That we are no longer hostile. I like to think he actually did get the letter. Said no. Did they get the letter?
It's like, y'all see this? No. They'll shake their heads.
We only got one that he lights it on fire.
Yeah, he just
and then
drops
he
it,
uses
yeah.
the letter to light a cannon and start shooting at the fence. It's like, what did it say, sir? It's like, remember, sir, all we're going to do is kill all these British people, even though we're all British.
Yeah, what did it say? It said, keep killing them.
Defends the city. He gets awarded several medals, and very popular guy for doing that.
Several medals. That is a good band.
Yeah. And then he heads back to Tennessee just to kick it at the Hermitage.
What's up, Elvis?
Yeah. Up until he is called once again to fight Indians in Georgia.
This is his job.
Yeah.
It's what he's good at.
His calling, if you will.
Once again, President Monroe sends him out, starts to deal with several tribes that have been giving the federal government some problems. And
hey, we lived here.
The wording
Problem.
the wording that Monroe uses is end the conflict, like stop it. And in Andrew Jackson's mind, the best way to stop incursions into Georgia is to just completely take over Florida from the Spanish. You know,
I mean,
Makes sense.
because they were actually harboring some of the tribes and also runaway slaves. So they were like, yeah, can't deal with this anymore. So he invades Florida once more in 1818. Then we start seeing some of the Indian removal stuff that he's going to get into in his presidency, displacing people. Becomes the first territorial governor of Florida for about 6 months, and then he goes back home to Tennessee, where he retires from the army and takes a
Yeah, rest.
cools it off. Yeah.
takes a nap.
From all this war fervor.
If we learn anything from history, it's like sometimes you need a nap.
Yeah, you just need a nap. So he's retired. He's thinking about what he wants to do with his life. And he's like, well, have all this popularity and I got some ideas for this government, so why don't I run for president? It was like, and everyone seemed to agree with him. So they started putting feelers out in
what if I ran
1822.
for president, man? Yeah. And thus,
1822,
we have a $20 bill.
the word starts getting out about Andrew Jackson wanting to become president. So,
Have you heard?
have you heard the good news?
Hopefully it didn't come via letter because he'll burn those and then attack a city
Except
full of British.
for in 1823, Tennessee just elected him senator. So he's like, well, God damn it. Now I guess I got to do this again while I'm waiting for the presidential election in 1824.
He's like somewhere else. It's like, yes, some guy comes in like, sir, you're senator. Like, damn it. Stop electing me senator.
I quit that job 20 years ago.
Let me tell you, that's a big difference from senators nowadays.
Right?
Just think about it.
He's like, preparing some food, like long beard, in some cabin in the mountains.
He's thinking about some shit.
It's obviously like snow built up. It's real cold, and he's very isolated. And then someone kicks the fucking door open. It's like, we found you.
Like it's like he's only one candle in there, and he starts seeing like the lights outside of the lanterns. Like, like it's
Here's
like,
the horses
it's taking
roll
us
up.
days to find you, sir.
So in the election of 1824,
You got me.
you have 5 major candidates. All of them are Democratic Republicans.
All looking sexy.
John Adams, Henry Clay, Ajax, to name a few. Anywho, so there was a plurality of votes, which means no one got to the number that they needed to.
John Quincy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the son.
Sure.
Right.
To make sure it was the Q.
You said John Adams. I mean, you
Yeah.
think of
Quincy.
President John
He said
Adams.
Quincy.
Well, yeah, no, there's John Adams, then John Quincy Adams. I apologize.
He said Quincy.
No, he didn't.
No, I didn't.
I'm pretty sure he did.
No, I didn't. So, anywho, John Quincy Adams
call
is there.
him out.
Yeah, John Quincy Adams is there, blah,
I
blah,
heard
blah.
Quincy.
Plurality of votes. No one got the total, so it went to Congress to decide. Henry Clay
Which I'm a part of.
bowed out because he didn't have that many votes, and he was Speaker of the House at the time, and he didn't really like Ajax, so he gave it to John Quincy Adams. At that point, Ajax was like, well, this is all corrupt bullshit, and left, and now we have the Democratic Party. He formed the Democratic Party to break away
From the Democratic
from the
Republicans.
Democratic Republicans, and now the other party is called the Grand Republicans, and then eventually the Whig Party for a couple years. But yeah, we come back to 1824 or 1828, and he wins the election in a landslide because of his popularity. He's a populist. He wants to fight corruption, except for one of his best ways to fight corruption leads to corruption because of he basically invents the spoils system because he wants to rotate jobs so there's not a hereditary bureaucracy, same people keeping the same job. So he rotates people, except for the only people he picks are people loyal to his party. So you have what becomes the spoils system. In trying to fight corruption, he invented it to a great degree.
Good job.
I know, right?
Law of unintended consequences in action right there.
You become the very thing you swore to destroy.
One of his big things he did, as I mentioned earlier, was the Indian Removal Act. He started getting Indians out of Florida and Georgia and started moving them to Oklahoma. The Trail of Tears, though, didn't happen until Van Buren's presidency. So all that shit's on him.
Mr. Martin.
Total about 45,000
Martin Van Buren.
people were relocated. 4,000 to 18,000 died on the Trail of Tears. Yeah. Gross. He also had big problems with the banks because he saw banks as a tool of corruption in influencing elections. And after he
Funny, right?
after he vetoed a bill that would renew their charter,
Okay.
they actually just started pouring money into the other party to get him out of office, which just proved his point. So everyone saw that in the 1832 election, once again, won in a landslide because they saw him fighting the banks.
Corruption, yeah.
For the common man.
It's funny, right?
Yes. It's fucking hilarious. Now, in 1833, he is the first president to ever have an attack happen to him. Some guy he fired for embezzling the Navy
Goes, fuck you. And he's just like, that was an attack. And then this other thing happened.
aimed a pistol at him and shot, but it misfired. So he pulled out another pistol and shot, but that one misfired.
He's like pulling like shit off his back.
Like pulls out a bazooka and then that misfired.
So
Pulled out a
throwing
machine gun.
dynamite.
It jams first shot.
And this was in 1835. I apologize. I said 1833.
Pulls out a knife, but it breaks off.
So after the two misfires, Andrew Jackson just looks at him and just starts beating him with his cane.
Yep, the famous story about.
To the point where Davy Crockett, who was around him at the time, had to pull him off because they thought he was going to kill him.
Davy Crockett.
When the king of the wild frontier has to pull you off somebody, you know you're probably going overboard.
You ain't an animal, but you look like you're in peril. And he saved him.
So he ends his term, 1836, retires to his estate, the Hermitage.
They built a monument for him. It's a giant cane.
But he's still fiddling around. He's still a big player in the Democratic Party, seeing as he fucking founded it. So everyone's sort of coming to him
In case you're wondering.
about, who to elect and whatnot. So they end up electing Van Buren to follow him. But because of the way he treated the bank and the way you had a bunch of local and state banks open up, relaxing some regulations on them, the market sort of just crashed in 1837.
Sort of just kind of fell apart.
Like you said, you tried to do something good. And
Law of unintended consequences.
yes.
We here at HistoricHole don't do anything good.
So you have the Panic of 1837 happen. That lasts for about 4 years. A semi-depression.
The panic of 4 years. This should be called one. A slightly less panic of 1838. And slightly less panic of 1839. And we still have a little bit of panic, but it's 1840. We're getting a little bit better.
And also during his tenure as president, Arkansas and Michigan become states.
Are we Kansas? No, you're Arkansas. Cool, we're Arkansas. Now you're a thing.
Also from the Hermitage, he's making plans for the U.S. government to annex Texas. He's in constant contact with Sam Houston, saying, wait, before you declare.
Hold?
Yeah, hold. The federal government will absolve you. Not absolve you, but
We'll make it slightly better
yeah.
for you.
We'll involve you in our system soon, but just hold. And then he dies of a heart attack.
That was too much holding. Just sitting there all clenched.
In 1845.
You're gonna die of a heart attack. Stop holding.
At 78 years old.
That's pretty old for back then.
Surrounded by his loved ones.
Oh, well, that's fine.
And he said, don't worry. If y'all are good, we'll meet again in heaven.
Or you'll snort cocaine out of a bill with my face on it.
And he passed away.
Everyone's like, say what?
Into our hearts and minds.
And then some Hispanic man walked in, cocaine. And thus,
I mean,
cliffhanger.
he's the reason why we have Florida, so. Yeah, what are we going to say? Well,
He's the reason.
So basically, the whole point of this episode is we got cocaine from Andrew
Jackson. Yep. Without him.
and Governor Ron DeSantis. I mean, maybe.
All right.
DeSantis.
All right, so I guess it's time for the shill stuff.
$20. Think about it. Every time you do it, duels made it happen. You should get in a duel.
God. I demand satisfaction.
So let's get to the shill stuff.
Shield.
Shill.
Shield.
Indeed.
Shield.
Give us 5 stars on iTunes if you liked this, or if you didn't like it, just tell yourself you liked it and then do it anyway, because that's all that matters these days is getting what you want in this world.
If you made it this far, give us 5 misfiring handguns in a duel.
Yeah, real lucky. First time. If you like listening, but you want to watch, you can find us on YouTube and see our faces. I don't know if I want to modify that with an adjective.
Hi there.
We're also on like other websites, but we can't get approved on any of them except for Pornhub. We're also on there. In the Safe for Work section.
Check out our Pornhub account. Follow us on social media.
I have 2.
social media platforms, Instagram and Twitter. We post full episodes on
Those are rookie
IGTV as
numbers.
well. The word of mouth is the best advertising that we can get because, you know, in this day and age, grassroots is the way to go. I'd rather go down working on grassroots than selling out to the man.
Yeah, we don't even have
So-
grass nowadays. Like, it's all just like manufactured.
It's all just roots.
AstroTurf.
Yeah.
We need a roots movement.
Yeah.
No grass. No grass, pure root.
Yeah. All root.
Pure soil.
Which
No grass, all root.
never mind.
You can email us at historichole@gmail.com with any questions or business inquiries or scams or
Coupons. Deals on oil changes.
coupons.
Please.
Yeah, feel free.
And every week we do what's called a statement of modernity. It's meant to encapsulate the feelings of the time, this day and age, and comment on it in some clever way. But I haven't really been trying because, you know,
Who tries anymore?
in this day and age, yeah, really, who tries anymore? But statement of modernity for this week is: if you lie to yourself, Andrew Jackson will be your daddy. Life is full of holes. Enter wisely.
Bye.
Bye.